welcome back. I'm Sean. This is Sean Turns Up the Volume. For this segment, I wanted to share a quote from the book The Devil and Karl Marx. And it's a book that talks about the history of Marx's life, his poetic writings, his communist agenda, as well as moving through history as far as communism and socialism as it continued afterwards, really leading up to modern times. It's a great read. It shows how it ties together how a lot of strange and evil forces and people came together, were drawn by and influenced Marxism after Karl Marx, and talks about the Frankfurt School and Aleister Crowley, and there's different names that I want to learn more about in here, but a lot of just sinister people drawn to and in connection with communism, with Marxism, leading up through like radical feminism and the wokeness of today. So it's a good read, and one of my favorite quotes from this book when I read it is from someone named Bella Dodd, and she was Catholic. Let's see, I believe she became a teacher. She was in unions, and she got wooed by the communist party, and ended up like leaving Catholicism for a time, and she ends up actually going against the Communist Party. I believe she leaves it and devotes herself against it later on in life, if I'm remembering that correctly. But the quote I'm going to share is, let's see, this is on page, what is this? This is pages 278 and 279. 279. If you get the book, I'm reading this on my Kindle. And so she's gonna, the quote here is from a man named Alexander Trachtenberg. He is said to have been identified by Whittaker Chambers as the head of the GPU in the United States, that the notorious Soviet military police, a successor to the Cheka. So the GPU is like Soviet secret police, and that this Alexander Trachtenberg was a charter member of the American Communist Party and its cultural commissar. He was the head of International Publishers, which had a monopoly on the publication and distribution of communist and Soviet books and pamphlets. Okay, so that's some of what it says, and I'm going to quote some more here. This is Trachtenberg speaking to Bella Dodd. She says, Trachtenberg once said to me, recalled Dodd in her memoir, that when communism came to America, it would come under the label of progressive democracy. It will come, he added, in labels acceptable to the American people. These were benign labels like progressive, liberal, and democracy. She repeated this in slightly more detail in a major speech at Fordham University in 1950, where she said that Trachtenberg had told her in New York in 1944, quote, when we get ready to take the United States, we will not take it under the label of communism. We will not take it under the label of socialism. These labels are unpleasant to the American people and have been speared too much. We will take the United States under labels we have made very lovely, or very lovable. We will take it under liberalism, under progressivism, under democracy, but take it we will. And that quote ends on page 279. The reference is 446 if you go to the back of the book. So, okay, so this is like a high-level guy and the Communist Party working in America. And this is I mean, she says that this was from 1944 that he told this to her. So this goes back all the way to World War II. It goes back, um, I mean, we're looking at what, like 80 years ago, where you've got communists in the United States actively working, actively usurping the United States. Already back then, they're in government, they're influencing things, they're causing the U.S. government to be sweet to the Soviet Union. They know about what the Soviet Union is doing, but they approve of it anyway, as far as how just all the evil stuff, right? The political persecution, the famines, the things like these people know it, but they'll go over to the Soviet Union and they'll come back and get more people bought in the U.S. But so this guy says they're going to take the U.S. by using liberal kind of language, soft kind of nice sounding language like progressive, democracy, liberal, these kind of things. And this was 80 years ago that they've been working on the left to usurp the left and the Democratic Party. And then what's funny is that I just saw this news article over on Fox News. It's titled Mamdani's Socialist Allies Embrace Watchdog's Warning About Their Key Motive, Recruitment Ad Unlocked. And what this is about is this pro-Israel watchdog group basically calls out the Democratic Socialists of America, that they're trying to take over the Democratic Party. And that it looks like from this article that there's basically the response to it is that they're joking that, like, yeah, that's exactly what what they're trying to do. In fact, there's a video on this article that shows what the DSA members, the Democratic Socialist members, are talking about, how they basically they want to undermine, take over the Democratic Party, basically just saying these very things themselves. And the reality is that they've actually, the communists have been doing this for decades and decades while claiming that they're not. It's just now it's becoming more out in the open that this is actually exactly what they are about. And so anyway, it's a chilling kind of quote, because I think America's been asleep at the wheel as far as recognizing the threat of communism, that while communism was viewed as the thing that's an external threat, it was being twisted to that because they were already all the way 80, 90 years ago already getting into academia, journalism, Hollywood, in the government, in order to sway people to think that they weren't there, that that it's just a boogeyman, that it's just the USSR maybe over there. But like McCarthy is, he's a big name as far as calling out communists in the government. And he was right. The government was full of communists. The government has been full of people sympathetic to socialism and communism ever since, predominantly on the left side of the aisle in the Democratic Party. It's just now that it's becoming just more and more overt. That's why these socialists are running on the Democrat ticket. That's why the Democrats won't call out the evils of communism, Marxism. There's no call for repentance of it. There's no critical theory doesn't get aimed at that. There's no looking at the history of all the evils committed by communist countries, socialist countries over the past 100+ years. There's nothing like the sort of ways that they attack conservative Western culture, European history, capitalism. There's nothing equivalent like that. They don't take their magnifying glass of critical theory, which is self as Marxist, they don't take that and point it at themselves. They'll point it at all the attention goes at Nazism and the evils of Nazism, which absolutely it's evil, and yet not nearly enough has been taught in schools and colleges about the evils of communism. You got to look that stuff up yourself, and there's a reason for that, because they are already taking over. They were already taking over in academia and stuff. They're already taking over and been taking over in the teachers' colleges, the teachers' unions, things like that. So they don't want you to know about that. They don't want you to make that comparison. They don't want you to call them out on these things. And it's so devilishly sneaky. So anyway, I'll put a link to this article. Let's see, it says the DSA is an anti-capitalist organization with the long-term goal of taking state power. The Democratic Party is a tool we use for local elections, but it remains an enemy of the working class. This was DSA organizer Mike Ludovico. Let's see, there's another quote here. DSA is loud and proud. We are fighting for a workers' party, only a party of, by, and for working people can bring about a better world. The Democratic Party is ultimately one for billionaires. So these Democratic Socialists are being more open about how they don't like the Democratic Party, but they'll use it and run in it for the sake of advancing socialism. And you've seen the same kind of rhetoric here as would fit or be pulled right out of the Communist Manifesto. So while they want to portray themselves as something perhaps less radical than what the manifesto was about, or say, well, that was communism, Marxism, they'll call themselves socialism as if that's like softer or less. Right? They'll try to make the distinction perhaps that communism is really the utopic end of maybe the Communist Manifesto, and that socialism is the process to get there, and try to like make distinctions like that, or say that maybe communism is maybe the authoritarian evil kind of thing. Maybe try to frame it in that way, and that socialism is gentler. I think on either it was the Democratic Socialists of America page, or it might have been the Communist Party USA page, CPUSA, I can't remember which one. One of them was saying, like, well, now they support individual private property ownership, right? And yet in the Communist Manifesto, one of Marx's most fundamental points is the abolition of private property. So you see them kind of in their public page trying to roll that back, try to see more they want to come off more approachable. Well, we're not going to take the clothes off your back. We're not going to take like that kind of property from you. We won't take your, we won't take your phone maybe. We won't take some of your personal property. We'll let you have your pet. But there's other things that we'll take. The private property is something, we'll let you have this. Now they will take your business, and they'll be the ones in charge, so they'll actually get to decide how much private property they take from you, but they'll let you have like some, right? So anyway, so I wanted to share that, make some commentary on that. It's a really radical quote. It's really a display of what has been going on the left side politically for decades, for really nearly like 100 years. Who knows? I don't know. I'm still learning this stuff, but maybe it's gone back more even farther than that, because really socialism, communism was being mulled around in the 1800s, and certainly early 1900s. It wasn't just like the World War II period. That was just when things were bubbling up more. I mean, obviously the Bolshevik Revolution stuff was early 1900s going on, and then the Nazi Party was coming about in like the 30s, and so like this stuff was all bubbling under the surface, and then there were sympathetic groups in the United States as well. So this goes way back. It's like, was there ever a time that the Democratic Party, that the left, wasn't really co-opted or just existing as a party of people that were fundamentally anti-American, fundamentally hated the freedoms of this country, wanted socialist type policies, but wanted to couch them in softer kind of language, just as this Alexander Trachtenberg described their method of doing. Was it really anything other than that, than a party of manipulation? Well, maybe that pulls us into like what how genuine is any political party? I don't know. So anyway, that's just some of me thinking out loud. But anyway, that's what I've got for you at the moment today. I've got some more stuff to record, but if you like this kind of thing, please like and subscribe. I would recommend, if you want to know more about the history of Karl Marx and his creepy, perhaps satanically inspired writings and the sorts of things that were going on in his mind and his life, then I would recommend reading that book, The Devil and Karl Marx, and I'll probably have more quotes or parts of that to share because it was just a really good book. So anyway, thank you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.